Man, I thought I was recording a few minutes ago. Evidently, I wasn't. But y'all chilling with me right now. This is how we do aquatics. My boy Spook looking at me like, "What are you doing, fella? Come on, big boy, swim around, man. Swim around for me. Say what's up to the people." I'm giving you basically trying to give you a bird's eye view, like Andy Woods, a a picture for scale. I got a scratch on my acrylic, man. That's on the inside. It must be from his teeth. It's a picture of scale. This is a big guy. This big boy. Big guy, man. Uh, and he is, I call wild caught fish because he acts like he acts. He can be timid at times when there's a change, of course. Not only a change in the aquarium, but like right now that was just happening. I'm moving stuff around. Most of the time he's swimming around, he's challenging me and stuff. But I call him a wild caught fish. But it's not. He's not actually a wild caught fish. Um, by definition, I should say, he is a wild caught fish because he comes off of a fish farm, a pond where he's basically probably a let me say a nuisance species of fish on a fish farm where probably they don't specialize in this fish. That's not how what they do. They're just there, the dovi. And I guess where he comes from is probably just a maybe a hurricane prevention or whatever. I guess when they have hurricanes blow through lots of water, the fish off the farm don't escape. Maybe they had dovi at one point, and for years, you know, these big dovi been breeding in those giant pools. So I guess in essence, I could say wild caught, but I would say the definition of the word is catching him in Nicaragua. He's a Nicaraguan variety. Uh, Beautiful, man. He got beautiful coloration, stuff like that. This tank wasn't intended to house this species of fish when I first built it. I was going to do the stingray and arowana, you know, but attempting to breed stingray. Not doing my research on state laws, I soon found out that I could not do stingray. But all in all, I kept building. Framework and most of the work was done. Disheartened a little. I just went back for what I knew, you know what I mean? Never kept dovi before. Never kept in a garage before, which presents all different hurdles and all different obstacles. You know, when I was younger, I come up in California, so I didn't have to deal with the humidity and stuff like that. A lot easier to manage temperature. So in doing this build and living here for the years that I have, I've already experienced just in everyday life, the uh, humidity issues and stuff like that, and what it'll do to wood. So I built the tank to where the wood wouldn't be impacted by moisture, right? So I don't get the swelling and all of this stuff from the aquarium, which is good. No moisture hits this aquarium. It's not done by paints. It's done by epoxies. I needed something. Paints fail a lot faster than epoxies. So that hurdle accomplished. That was one of the first ones in the build that I, you know, went to solve for. So now back to the fish and fish keeping in the environment with temperatures to where you can get feels like in feels like temperatures of 110 and stuff like that. Being in the garage, non-insulated and closed off, where sometimes it can feel more. It can be more warm in here than outside sometimes. I've never dealt with the cyanobacterias. Not saying that the heat is a culprit dealing with cyano, because some people say that, and I've heard others say other. Because you got to figure out how to deal with the outbreaks, why they come, and this and this and that. It occurs in nature and this and that. Okay, this is an artificial environment that I set up, so I'm dealing with the cyano. So the common things that I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna get the course first. You're gonna check your aquarium parameters, which my parameters, they don't really budge too much at all. It's not a few huge overstocking of fish in 765 gallons, and that 765 gallons is taken from measurements on the inside aquarium, not the outside spec. I measured the inside to get what the gallons were. So I don't get a whole lot of fluctuations when it comes to ammonium nitrate and all of that. And I feed pretty decently and stuff like that. But at the same time, they say cyano is from waste. So I'm like, okay, why am I getting this cyanobacteria? So ultimately, it's coming down to what I did. What I'm getting to is it's coming down to, okay, phosphates. We checked that. We put the phosphate pads, big, huge phosphate pads, to catch phosphates and stuff like that. So we got with that. It's another check off of the list. So then we get down to the sand substrate. Sand substrate being a culprit, right? Reason being, the sand is so dense and so small, and in its grains or whatever, that there isn't, it's no breathing in the substrate, like no water flow, no air. Cyanobacteria is, from what I understand, it spawns from that. So I'm like, damn, I done stuck this sand right, fill this tank up with a lot of bags of this stuff. Now, how the hell am I gonna get it out of here? Because I really want the sand gone. Like, I want the sand gone because I don't want. This is a. This guy loves to. He's always setting up to be breeding constantly. He's moving the sand around, and it's not deadly unless it's ingested, and I didn't want an accident to happen with my big boy in his enclosure behind him moving sand. So I'm constantly scooping this patches of cyano that'll percolate through the sand out. I'm getting to a point where I'm getting tired of this. And what's going on is it may be a piece of detritus or whatever floating around, and he comes, moves the sand, and the sand covers that. That gives something for the cyano to bloom. It's getting fed by him moving sand around, So now what I have to do is suck it out. I run to siphon this aquarium. I run when I do water changes, I hook up to my 50-gallon drum sump. It's a 50-gallon drum sump that I have that my water goes to first into a static K1 media bed. It's not moving. I stopped it. It used to be moving, but I just felt like, it's kind of pointless for me to have it moving, because at first that's just what I just had was a moving bed. And, in doing that, I'd start doing nothing but really circulating broken down particulates. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like where my water was in clarity. So I added a polishing, 9-gallon polishing sump right after it. So, and I use pool filter balls to do that, pad on top, and that solved my polishing. Right? So, that's cool. So anyway, the reason I start talking about that 50-gallon drum sump is in that, when I built that, I made a 1-inch outlet, very bottom. So, and it has a 1-inch ball valve, PVC, of course. So I just come and plug in. I got a piece of PVC and an inch and, I don't know, a 1/4 inch and 1/8 tube that I shoved a small piece of PVC pipe in where I could shove that in my ball valve, open it up, and drain the tank. Since my sump pump is in my aquarium, when I tie into the actual sump, 50-gallon sump, and I plug in this hose, I open that valve, I drain the tank immediately. I don't have to put a siphon hose, but that is a big enough siphon hose for me to siphon all of this sand out. So I got an aquarium. I acquired a 120-gallon aquarium that was pre-drilled. I'm trying to come up with something to catch the sand as I'm siphoning out the water. Since it's pre-drilled, before I do the reseal on this aquarium, it has holes in the bottom already. I took the baffles out and everything because I was going to do a reseal. I'm deciding, I think I'm going to lay some fine mesh down so the sand can't come through, and siphon all of this down sand out, let it get caught in the aquarium, and the water still drain out of this tank, right? Because it has holes at the bottom. That is the plan. On my next water change. I have did huge water changes. Sometimes I do huge water changes. But normally I do that after I pay my water bill. You know what I'm saying? But on a normal water change, I probably do always, about here, because there isn't a huge bio load of fish here. You know what I'm saying? So I'll probably get rid of probably 200 gallons of water and then reintroduce 200 gallons of water. But monthly, I'm going to do a 50% water change. But if I'm going to do a huge water change, I'm going to wait till I pay my little water bill, because I'm going to bring it down about 500 gallons or so. Maybe to the top of that coupling or the bottom of the coupling, right over the sump pump. And it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to fill back up. Huge water change. The biological load I have in that 50-gallon sump, in my first time dealing with K1, media caught this, and I caught K3 at a deal, 2 cubic feet at K1 media, 2 cubic feet of K3 media in a 50-gallon drum, so it's full. And I use that as static now because of detritus. By the time it floats through all that stuff, it's probably so fine and broken down, and hopefully the what's it called, beneficial bacteria will take care of a lot of it. But it'll come into another 9-gallon polishing section, you know what I'm saying, inside my polishing drum. All gravity flow after it leaves this pump. This pump pumps this water and fills that drum, and everything else works by gravity coming back into the aquarium. And I know I'm putting a load on this pump because I have it filling from the bottom, but I had to raise the drum to get it above the aquarium to where I can use gravity to let water come back into this aquarium. So I'm putting a load on this pump. This is supposed to be an 850 to 800 gallon per hour sump. So I should be turning the tank 1 time per hour at 765 gallons. Should be. But with the load I know I have on this pump, I know I'm not. Being real here, when I do massive water changes, and the time with this pump at 100% it takes to fill this 50-gallon drum, knowing that it's pushing upward here, but I also slow the flow as well, though, so I have to take that into account. I'm not using, and I slowed the flow on purpose. You know what I'm saying? So I am using 1.5-inch diameter tubing in the inside of this aquarium, or PVC, to slow the flow down, by expanding the volume that the water is going through. So I can't really, it's hard to say because I did that, because I wanted to increase the retention time inside the 50-gallon drum, the actual time that the water spins in the 50-gallon drum. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that the beneficial bacteria has its time to do what it's supposed to do in clarifying the ammonias and detritus and this and that. So I knew I needed the water retention time to be higher. So it's when I say the time it takes to fill the 50-gallon drum, I really can't go by that because the outlet on that pump is probably close to 1 inches, maybe 7/8 or so. It does have, I can't remember what the head was for 1.5 inch piping. The head pressure, I think it's good for 9 feet or whatever it was, right? But we use 1.5 inch. Although I have a massive amount of flow, you know what I'm saying? It's that flow is slowed down by going through a bigger pipe. So that's like me saying, okay, just to break it down, I don't want to get too scientific. I hooked that pump to this. It's probably 1.5 inches by maybe 8-9 inch. I hooked that pump through here. It's gonna blast the water out of here, right? But if this same thing was 2 liters, it would be the same flow, but fill it a lot slower because it's pushing up through a bigger diameter of something. So the water would be slow because of the bigger diameter. So basically the same concept was used. I used in this aquarium. So I can't size that I'm not moving at least 800 gallons per hour through this pump because I am using a bigger diameter piping. I didn't want to use a smaller diameter piping because I didn't want the water to just blast through my 50-gallon drum setup. I did not. I wanted more water retention. And in getting more water retention, I get less detritus, push really fast through my K1 and K3 and biological setup. 4 cubic feet in total of biological stuff. So I use the bigger diameter to slow that water. And also, by it being a 50-gallon drum and I'm using gravity, it pushes water up slower than a 50-gallon drum. But this little guy, that little pump is pushing and filling up a 50-gallon drum through larger diameter pipe, and then the 50-gallon drum itself from the bottom slower for water retention time and the filtration. It's not about moving water through fast. You can move a lot of water slower, is the point here, for a better clarity of water. So, and even doing that, I had to still add a polishing section to catch smaller particulates, you know. And when it comes to paint, background, painting this aquarium, I love the wood theme. You know what I'm saying? I love the wood theme. You know, I feel like my boy is trying to push, you know, to do better, and I feel that. You know what I'm saying? Hats off to you. I love you. Subscribe to your channel and everything. I watch all your content and hit it like as much as possible. A lot of the times, I'm not watching from a tablet or a smartphone. So going through watching this on my TV, you know what I'm saying, to my boy, you know, fellow Californian, you know, at the fish corner, I can't always, a lot of times I'm curled up watching your channel when I'm laid up getting ready to go to work the next day, man. I don't be reaching, grabbing the remote all the time out of that zone to use the TV to hit the like, man. I apologize. Shouts out to the fish corner, man. You know, he said the movement is to do better at which plywood builds with the paint, painting the inside and stuff like that. Well, you know, the only thing is and I admonish that. And again, much respect. I wanted people to see what this was. I feel like I'm exercising much muscle and much, how can I put it? Let me get the right words. And the muscle wasn't meaning physical. I'm meaning I feel like I exercise major ingenuity in this build. This is not a plywood build. This is a 2x4 on its long side, you know. Now, I did get the concept from somebody in aquarium domain, and he painted his aquarium black on the outside. But again, his aquarium may be in his basement, his aquarium may be wherever it is. I don't think he is as exposed to the elements as I am. Not that I still can't paint over epoxy, because I can. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to. I want you to see what this aquarium is. And I like the wood grain finish. I can't lie. I love it. I love it. I don't bleach out the colors of my fish and all of that because of the background. You see what the fish are. I love looking at, I'm a wood grain kind of guy. My pool table here, the reason I can't ever put the thing in my recording device in view is because my pool table here is wood grain finish. You know, I love the wood finish, man. And through a clear epoxy, I get that. You know what I'm saying? Not stained, raw wood. I had people make comments like, hey man, fish are supposed to be in water. Basically, how are they levitating? Because they see how it's built. You know, just making jokes, you know. And it's awesome to me, bro. Like, and I've also got comments like, hey man, you in for catastrophic failure if you didn't support that wood in the type of way. Is that 2x4? How did you support that? You know what I'm saying? And I love that. You know what I mean? This tank was not hard to build. A little time consuming, not hard to build. Very easy, very sturdy. And with these epoxies that I used, Total Boat epoxies, I wish they would sponsor, what you call it, sponsor me. This is their tabletop epoxy. There is no fiberglass mat, chop strand mat. There's none of that. There is no glue between 2x4 boards. None. None of that. All it is fasteners, 2x4, and a 1/8, 3/16 thick coat of epoxy over that. It's not painted on. It's poured and allowed to cure. So the 2x4 on its long side is 1.5 inches in diameter. But in all actuality, the diameter of these walls in this aquarium is probably 1.5 inches to 11 inch and 11/16 inch thick, if not thicker, on all surfaces in this aquarium. So I have no reason to build an aquarium with framing or any of that. It's all in one. Super sturdy, no flexing, no bowing on my longer sides and there is no studs, walls, like how you would stud a wall in your walls of a house. None of that. It's just what you see. So I save space. And on top of that, I think I'm shooting at number one for authenticity with the aquarium build that I decided to go. Number two, I have no cross braces on the top of this aquarium. Wide open. I did Euro brace the top of the back because it is a big section. This picture frame is what you see, 3 2x4. So in essence, you got 3, 4.5 inches. This is bigger than a 4x4 running across here to hold this. Which is only 3.5 inches. We bigger than that 4x4 by 1.5 inches. So it's almost to a, what would you call that? 4x6, almost at the top bracing this aquarium. Now this part is glued and screwed. So I love my build, man, for authenticity, man. I didn't do the run-of-the-mill stuff. I'm not gonna do run-of-the-mill stuff. When I build another aquarium, I am gonna build it the exact same way. Because I feel like I feel stable with my aquarium. Like, I did build a stand or start to build a stand. Uncle Sam, Uncle Keith, this is the start of the build. It ain't finished yet. I still got some bracing. This is the stand for the aquarium. 4 foot by 7.5. It ain't there yet. How that's done in the middle is how it's gonna be done, all the way even on the edges. And then we got board right that's gonna come right here to hold the weight too, all the way around, wrapping this thing. This is the stand for the aquarium. You know, that's the machine helping out. This is the stand, this is the aquarium right here. This is the aquarium. But this is different lumber. It ain't the same. It's different, so it ain't being touched. This is the stand lumber. And it ain't done yet. It's gonna take a week or two to get it done. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna give you step by step. This is the first part of bracing. It ain't done, like I said. In the middle of everything, it's gonna be a single 2x4 bracing in between each one. You know what I'm saying? But this is the main bracing for all the weight that you see. 15 columns, 1.5 foot tall. Aquarium gonna be 4 foot tall, 4 foot long, and 7.5 feet wide. That's the aquarium right there, mark my words. You're gonna see it when it's done. This is the stand though. Dude, I was trying to incorporate my stepson, trying to get him good with his hands. And I let him do a lot of the cutting on that stand. The boards. I had him doing the cutting. Well, I should have made sure everything, it wasn't as square as I would have liked it to be. It was built to support this weight though. It was. But I should have made sure. I figured with my circular saw and it's on his horse, and you know, I should have oversaw that just a little better. So I didn't use the stand because for my first build, I didn't want the stand being uneven to cause a crack in anything in this aquarium. by it being unlevel. You know what I'm saying? Putting this much water in something. So I didn't use it. I took it apart and then just went to building an aquarium. So that's why it's on the floor. At any given point, I can build that stand and raise this aquarium, which would be hard as hell, but I can. It is heavy. Without anything in it, it is heavy. I will not lie. Very heavy because of how it's built. But another reason I want to showcase the way it's built is because I wasn't about to spend $90 per sheet of plywood. I just refused to do that. And the amount of lumber I bought to build this aquarium, one sheet I have halfway built with the material wise in 2x4s. With one sheet of birch plywood, I've almost built half of this tank with 2x4. Nothing special. I didn't need to buy treated lumber because I treated the lumber myself by the exact method that people use to build boats, and that's by the use of epoxies. Although a lot of them use damn it, I almost want to call it fiberglass. Fiberglass keep popping in my mind, but that's not it. It is resins. They are using resins, fiberglass resins. Fiberglass is what they actually are laying. But I can accomplish the same thing with epoxies. This aquarium is sitting on an 1/8 inch thick pour of epoxy. So if water hits the floor, I can throw my coffee, I can throw water all of this around it, throw it on this tank, hit it with the hose, water hose, and the exact same way water is going to act on this plexiglass, if you shoot water on this plexiglass, the exact same way it's going to act on my wood. I don't have to worry about the degradation of paints. As far as the inside, now I have seen people allow their plywood aquarium sit for long periods of time before they do anything else in their aquarium, right? And because of the expansion and contracting of the wood causes thin mills of pond shield to give cracks in the aquarium because it's sitting. You know what I'm saying? I refuse to deal with that. So the best way to stop wood expansion is to seal it up so the moisture in air doesn't cause it to expand. Sealed. Done deal. So if this sits with no water, I can just come refill it like I'm refilling glass and have no problems. If I didn't have a crack before it was empty, I'm not going to have a crack later. So anyway, baby, like the name entitled, this is how we do aquatics, man. Y'all have a great day. Deuces.